This is Emily, president of Self Advocates of ADEC and podcast host. Welcome to another episode of our monthly podcast, Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. What up, everybody? Welcome back to Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. And today we have Amy Stryker.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And today we're going to be talking about voter outreach and how to register to vote in the Elkhart County area.
Yep.
Do you work specifically for a website to help people get registered?
I work for the Elkhart County Voter Registration Department. So that is our focus is all year long trying to get people registered to vote and keep those records accurate.
Why do you think voting is important?
I think for our voices to be heard, we have to have as many people out there sharing their information, their thoughts, and the way they can do that is through the voting process so that we know when people are getting what they want out of our government.
Yeah, I feel like that's how good change can happen is if we can get our voices out there and really just express how we feel.
Yep. The more people that get out and vote, the more likely we are to see that change that we're wanting to see.
I don't remember who said this quote, but it makes me think of this specific quote, uh, "Be the change you wanna see in the world."
Yep.
How would you describe a candidate's platform?
So a candidate's platform is kind of what they think and believe, and that's what you're listening to when they're on the campaign trail. So that's what they're saying they're going to do once they're in office and what their beliefs are. And you want to make sure that those align with yours when you're voting.
Yeah, and you also wanna make sure that, not only does it align with your beliefs, but that you're not just following them, blindly.
Correct. And you want to make sure it's what you believe and not what someone else believes.
Exactly. Like, where can we find, non-biased facts about their platform?
So we have a couple of websites that we recommend while the voter registration area can't actually put anything out about the candidates other than who's running. We recommend checking out organizations like ballotpedia.org, vote411.org. Both of those have some fairly good nonpartisan information. The other thing we recommend is if the person is already an elected official, check to see how they're actually voting on the bills that are put in front of them. And that gives you a good basis to be able to make a judgment on.
How do you learn about candidates before voting?
That's where you have to just kind of look at a bunch of different areas radio, TV, watch what they're saying, listen to their speeches, listen to what others are saying about them and what their thoughts are. And you just have to kind of evaluate and look at the truth that is probably in the middle somewhere amongst all of those views.
Yeah. Um, are elections every year? Is that an annual thing?
There are, for the most part, there is an election every year. So we deal in a 4-year cycle. This year is what's called the midterms. So it's because we're halfway through a presidential term, we're mid his term. So there is always going to be federal races on a midterm election. Next year, we will have what's called municipal. Those are only for people who live within city limits. Those are gonna be voting for the city mayors, the city councils, things like that, anything that runs the city government. So only those people that live with inside, um, for example, Goshen city limits would be able to vote on the Goshen, government, or in the Elkhart city limits for voting on Elkhart. Bristol is also one that has their own town council. So within Bristol city or town limits, they would also get to vote. Anybody that has a country address would not be able to vote that year. The year after the municipal will be another federal election. So that one will be a presidential. So there will be a multitude of races on that ballot from the president all the way down to some local races. And then the year after the presidential is what we call our off year. So the only thing that would be that year is if there's a special election. So we do get 1 year out of the 4 that we get off sometimes.
Ah.
I know that's a lot of information real quick.
Yeah. What exactly is an off year?
So in the off year is just where the only election would be if we have some sort of a local question that needs to be answered for like tax abatements and things like that. Um, but otherwise, we're just trying to play catch up after the presidential and get everything cleaned up and ready to go for the next 3 years.
Ah. What made you want to vote for the first time?
I had voting instilled in me from a very young age. One of my favorite stories to tell, my mom always helped run the elections in my local town. And I can remember as a little girl going with her for her to vote. And that just kind of instilled in me very young that it was a very important thing. And so I made sure when I turned 18 to get registered and get out to vote. Part of it probably too is there was a presidential the year before I turned 18, and I didn't like who was elected president, and I was kind of mad that I couldn't vote in it. So that kind of motivated me too to get out then as soon as I was able to vote.
Yeah, I've actually never voted before, but I'd be interested in trying to vote.
It is very good, and we have lots of ways for people to vote. You don't have to go to a vote center. If for some reason you're gonna be unavailable, you can vote by mail. You can vote early. You can also have people with you if you need help with the voting machines, and that's important for people to know. If they feel like they need help with the machines, they can bring somebody in to help them, or if they need an interpreter or something that way, they are allowed to have someone with them.
And they have that right for it.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily like they could just discriminate because of a certain thing.
Nope.
Everyone has that right to vote.
We want everybody's voices heard.
What other parties can you be in besides Republican or Democrat?
There are actually a lot of parties on the ballot this year in Elkhart County. We have a representative from the Green Party and the Libertarian Party. But those are two of the most common is the Green and the Libertarian. And people can also run as an independent. They don't have to have a party that they're associated with at all.
All right. And I've heard of the independent party, which is you have your own party, you know exactly what you believe in.
Mhm. A lot of people will go independent if they have been in a party previously and they just don't feel like that party is any longer aligned with the way they believe, they may go independent after that.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who is learning to vote for the first time?
So I would say do your research. I always tease the high schoolers when I go into the high schools. You don't get to stop researching when you're out of school. You got to continue to do it even as an adult. So the first thing is to know who's on your ballot, which can be done really easily at a website called indianavoters.com. If you go on Indiana Voters, you can see exactly who is on your ballot. And from there, you can take those names to research what they believe and write it down. Take it with you to the polls as a written down list so that you don't get in there and go, wait a minute. who was it that I really wanted to vote for in this race? Because it's easy to do that when you're getting all these names thrown at you on the machine.
Yeah, especially like in the machine, there's like a ton of names that you gotta vote for.
Yeah, there's and know that you don't have to vote on every single race. So if you get in there and you look at the names and you're like, "Yeah, I don't know who any of these people are," you don't have to vote on that race. You can vote on just the ones you want to, and you can skip the others.
I feel like when you vote, when you say exactly who you wanna vote for, and not necessarily just, like, the people around you, but, like, when you know and you say it to yourself, I feel like in general that can, like, help the community in some way.
I think it does, and I think having good discussions with other people, even with people with different viewpoints, I have a lot of friends who I don't agree with them, and we can still discuss who we wanna vote for and everything and have that good discussion, and it helps us learn from one another.
Yeah. What do you think we should know about voting? Or what do you wanna know?
What I think everyone needs to know about voting is that they really do need to get out there. I know I say it a lot, but they need to get out and vote for what they believe, not what their neighbor, their mom, their dad, anybody else believes, but what they believe personally. And that everybody knows that it is their right to vote and that we do have options that if they need anything to give us a call at the voter registration office and we will help them at least get to where the answers are if we can't give them the answers themselves ourselves.
How do you register to vote?
There's several ways you can go on indianavoters.com as long as you have a state ID of some sort. You can register directly online, or you can call us at the office and we can get you a voter registration form mailed out to you. Or you can come see us, usually different festivals and stuff. We'll try to have a table set up, for example, here in Bristol. We've got the Bristol Corn Dog Festival coming up in, I think, about a month. And I know personally will actually be out at there at a booth getting people signed up. There will be somebody else with me, I believe. So come see us and we'll get you signed up if you need to there.
If this is too personal, you don't have to answer this part, but what changes would you like to see in your community, state, or country in regards to voting?
I would say that I would like to see everybody working together. I think we've kind of gotten to where if people don't believe the same way as you, there's some people that just don't want to continue the conversation. And I don't think that that's the way we grow. I think the way we grow is by having those conversations. And that's what I would like to see is more discussion and openness and willing to listen to one another.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that there's a lot of people that don't really want to have that open conversation, even if your views are different from one another.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, especially with social media, people saying, "You don't believe the way I do, then you need to unfriend me," and that's not the answer. The answer is to talk to one another.
Thank you, Amy, for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been really good.
Yeah, this is great. And this has been Expert Tips, and we're signing off. Thanks for tuning in and hearing from your neighbors with disabilities. Check out next month's podcast for a new guest and topic. I am Emily, host of Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. See you next month.